Good evening, everybody. This is Brunson's By No Means Necessary fantasy basketball talk for Saturday, January 22nd. I meant to do this video earlier today. I got completely distracted, diverted from it by, cooking dinner, watching Netflix. I'm really excited that Ozark season 4 finally hit Netflix. Season 4, I believe, is going to be the last season, which doesn't surprise me. Netflix has a knack for picking shows that are good, but they're short-lived. Like, they don't draw it out for 8, 9, 10 seasons. Their shows are like four seasons and done. Ozark is looking like it's going to be another one of those. I'm excited to, binge part 1 and wait for part 2. A few other things going on in my life. I've watched a couple of movies so far in 2022. Nothing impressive. I've watched Scream, the new Scream, whatever. And then I watched The King's Daughter yesterday with Pierce Brosnan about King Louis XIV, the mermaids. Another, just whatever movie. So far, nothing fascinating has come out this year. I noticed that No Time to Die is back in theaters, IMAX. Anyway, I'm considering going and watching that again because that was a good one. I wish I could turn this heater off because it's a little warm and it's a little loud. But yeah, more. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get a credit card before my next trip this next weekend. So this time next week I will be somewhere not here. I was hoping to get a credit card, get approved for a credit card before then. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. The one that I applied for, I was excited about. Turns out they can't verify my address here in Vancouver. So I was supposed to apply with my parents' address because that's the address they have on file. That's the address my debit card has. That's the address that my driver's license has. And apparently it's the address my insurance has as well. So even though I live here, and I've lived here for a few years, I still, I got my driver's license and my insurance in Oregon because it was easier and cheaper to do that instead of, renewing in Oregon and then, having to pay to do it again here in Washington. Paid for my license twice, stupid. It was also, in Oregon, I didn't have to do a driver's test again like I would have had to in Washington. All that stuff is just a lot of hassle, a lot of work, a lot of complications, a lot of money I didn't want to spend. I just want to get my driver's license back after 3 years. So I did that all in Oregon. I used my parents' address for that. I used my parents' address for my insurance. My debit card, for whatever reason, I don't know why. One of my main debit card is linked to my parents' home. I never understood why it was like that because when I got it, it came with my tax return last year, and my tax return was for here. So I don't get it, but it is what it is. It's something I have to remember when I apply or when I use it for buying like plane tickets or whatever I'm buying online. I have to remember that it's my it's under my parents' address and not my actual address. So I have to remember the zip code is not Vancouver. So it's definitely tripped me up more than a few times because I just put in my normal address and then I'm like, wait a second, yeah, that's not right. So I'm gonna have to reapply for a different credit card, probably one that my one of the ones that was recommended to me by Credit Karma. Some of the ones that are that I have a good chance of getting approved. Some of the ones that are supposed to help me rebuild my credit and all that stuff. That's probably what I'll do, and maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get approved. be able to use it before I go on my next trip. But I'm excited for these next couple of days. I found 3 cars that I am into, 3 cars that I think I can afford. They're under $6,000, so I should hopefully be able to get approved for one of them. And if I need to put down a down payment of 10%, $600 or a little more, I can afford to do that. 3 cars here in the Portland area that I'm going to hopefully go and look at and possibly test drive and all that stuff in the next couple of days. One of them I have to wait till Monday because that's when the shop is open. The other 2 I should be able to take care of tomorrow. The one that I'm going to see on Monday is what I'm most excited about. It's got the least amount of miles. It's the cheapest. It's the closest to me. It's actually really close to where I work it's in the airport area of Portland. It's got the best color, the best looking car. I'm excited for that one. So I'm gonna take the best for last just because I have to. But I'm also, I'm into the other 2. I will take whichever one I can get approved for because I'm gonna solve this car problem this weekend since my brother decided that he wants to ignore me or just isn't interested in selling me the car anymore, or just as a procrastinator, just slacking off. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I can't afford to be taking a lift 5-6 times a week to get back and forth to get to work because my money UPS, because peak season is over now, it's decreased, so we're not making $25 an hour anymore. So I was paying $25 for a ride. That would I was making that in an hour. I was working 2, 3, 4 hours shift sometimes. I could cover it. Now it's back to normal hours where we're working like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day at like $18 an hour. So it's costing me an hour and a half of pay to cover the Lyft ride, and that's about what I'm working. So I'm not making any money by going to work. So we're gonna have to fix that because that's not a job I want to quit, and that's not a job I want to get fired from. I'm already having my transportation is already unreliable. I've already been tardy like 3 times in the last couple of weeks because of Lyft. So I'm paying a lot of money and I'm not even getting there on time all the time. So it's becoming a problem. I've got to get this car situation fixed because I'm not able to switch shifts to the twilight shift and get off the mornings, which would be so much more convenient for me just financially and just time-wise. But I can't do it, so I have to find a way to make this work. I've got to get a car this weekend. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm negotiating from a position of weakness here. I really don't want to deal with car salesmen. It's definitely not something that I feel is relaxing. It's not something I want to go do with my 2 days off after working a long week. But it's got to be done. I'm an adult. I got to do adult things once in a while. But without further ado, let's get to the basketball, the stuff that you tuned in for. This will be my 8 things I'm spiking and yiking here in fantasy basketball today. Starting with my yikes, as always, we're gonna start with Richaun Holmes. There's nothing production-wise wrong with Richaun Holmes. He's still producing pretty well for the Kings. He's just been really aggravating to own this year because he's healthy, he plays well, and then he misses like a week or so. And he comes back, plays well, and then misses another week. It's just the injury has just been off and on. So it's aggravating me. So he's making my yikes column for the day. Next, Peyton Pritchard of the Celtics. I'm a big Peyton Pritchard fan. He's a Duck. He's a local kid from here in Portland. He's a small guy. He's a guy that I watched him all through college. I was like, the guy's never gonna make it to the NBA. Sorry, my nose itched. I wasn't picking my nose. I promise I had an itch. I watched him all through college. I was like, this kid's never gonna make it to the NBA. And then he had that big senior year. I was like, you know what? Maybe he has a chance. Maybe he's going to be a second-round pick for somebody. Maybe he has a chance to stick. In Boston, and Danny Ainge took him in the first round. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Danny Ainge, another small white guy who came from Oregon. Maybe there's an affinity there for Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard had a pretty decent rookie year. It's outstanding in the summer league. I thought he was way too good for that level. I was like, okay, the second year is going to be a big year. He maybe have a starting role for the Celtics since they kind of need a point guard. Hasn't materialized. He's actually seems to be getting less minutes than last year. It's very sad because I thought that he really set himself up to have a breakout year. But Danny Ainge is not in Boston anymore. He's now in Utah. So I would not be surprised at all if Utah and Boston make a trade here shortly that gets Peyton Pritchard to Utah to be the backup point guard there. I'm already hearing rumblings that Boston is interested in Joe Ingles. So maybe Joe Ingles goes to Boston and some package, including Peyton Pritchard, comes back to Utah. I guess we'll have to stay tuned for that. Terance Mann of the Clippers, he's another guy who was supposed to have a breakout year this year. I drafted him in quite a few leagues late at the back end of the draft. It's like this guy is going to be a lottery ticket. Hasn't materialized. He's been okay. He's been a guy that is ownable at certain points. You pick him up off waivers, you ride the wave. Especially during the COVID outbreak. But overall, he hasn't really been like even a top 100 player. Even with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George out, he really hasn't been the primary offensive option. There's been Reggie Jackson, Amir Kofi. Who would have thought it would be those guys? So yeah, Terance Mann has been one of the bigger disappointments of the early part of the fantasy season. And lastly, I just want to talk about Jalen Green real quick. He was most people's Rookie of the Year pick coming in. And he looked okay early on, but then he got hurt, missed a lot of time. Now he's come back healthy, supposedly healthy, but he has been playing really, really, really bad. I don't know, Houston's got to be regretting taking Jalen Green over Evan Mobley at this point. Maybe even Scotty Barnes, too. Scotty Barnes has been a very pleasant surprise as a rookie. And Franz Wagner as well. I don't know. I think long-term Jalen Green's still going to be better than Wagner. But will he be better than Mobley and Barnes? I don't know. Well, Jalen Green has been quite the disappointment since coming back from his prolonged injury. Moving on to the basketball players I'm spiking today. Or not necessarily all players, but things I like. The things I'm spiking in fantasy basketball. I am in the midst of another 11-0 win this week in my money league. So that, that's back-to-back weeks of sweeping my opponent. That feels really good. That's back-to-back weeks of where I should win some money. I know the commissioner's a little behind. I think he's got a couple weeks to catch up on before he starts handing out that money. Or I thought he was going to wait till the end of the year, but he's been doing it on a week-to-week basis. But he's a little behind, so eventually he's going to catch up, and it should be me winning that $10 bonus in back-to-back weeks. So my team was struggling, but winning back-to-back 11-0 weeks is definitely going to get me right back in the thick of the playoff race. So yeah, plus my team is also finally getting healthy, which makes me feel pretty confident coming down the stretch. Now for the players that I want to talk about spiking, we're going to start with LaMarcus Aldridge because it was kind of a sad story how his season kind of ended really abruptly last year with the heart scare. It was people were wondering if he was going to be able to come back, and he's not only come back, but he's just been the same productive guy he's been for the entirety of his career. I've never been the biggest fan of LaMarcus Aldridge's game, especially when he was in Portland. I just hated that he would just take those long twos instead of just taking one extra step back and taking the three. He wanted to take that long ass two, which never made any sense to me, and then he would just never ever ever. He was a 7-footer who just was allergic to the paint. I hated it. He was a big man before his time. Now, 10, 15 years later, everybody plays that way. Nobody plays in the paint anymore. But like Aldridge was kind of the first wave of that modern big man, and I just couldn't stand it. And the way he left Portland, he was just never my favorite player. He still isn't my favorite player, but I'm very happy that he was able to come back successfully from his heart thing, and I hope that he's able to retire on his own terms. I don't think, based on the way he's playing, I don't think he's ready to retire quite yet, but obviously he's closer to the end of his career than he is to the beginning of his career, so I wouldn't be surprised if he retires again on his own terms this time. But in the meantime, he's a very valuable fantasy piece, and I actually, in my Dynasty League, picked him up as a free agent last season. He sat on my IR all year after he retired, so I was like, you know what, I don't think he's done. I think he's going to come back. Ended up being right on that one, so that was nice to get a productive center basically off the street. I did just trade him today for a pretty decent second-round pick, which is probably more than I was ever going to get from him anywhere else, because a lot of people are scared of him because he's old, because of the heart thing. They think he can retire again anytime. So getting a decent second-round pick in 2023 was a good return. I had to move somebody because I had too many players. I was over, my roster was illegal, so which happens sometimes when you got an IR full of players and then one of them gets healthy overnight. You gotta make moves. So I'm glad I was able to get that return for Aldridge. Next, we're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey has made Ben Simmons pretty obsolete in Philly. I don't know why Philly is still hanging on. Still thinking that they're going to get like an all-star in return. They just need to move. Both parties need to move on there. Simmons needs to change the scenery. Philly needs to just get some kind of production, some role players to play alongside Embiid, Harris, and Maxey, and take them to the finals, because Embiid and Simmons was never good anyway. So yeah, they just need to get some bodies out there who can do some things. Some guys like I don't know, some shooters. Some shooters would probably be nice. Some defenders. A power forward guy who can really take the brunt of the physical work defensively away from Embiid down low, and something kind of a a Rick Mahorn type, someone to be the enforcer, I guess, down there, because that's what they were trying to do with Al Horford. That didn't work out. But anyways, I like that Tyrese Maxey has emerged so quickly in his career. I like the fact that he has been able to become a point guard. I didn't think that was something he was going to be able to do at the NBA level, but he has. And he has point guard and shooting guard flexibility in fantasy, so that's always valuable. Tyrese Maxey is a guy who would have had to have gotten very early in the season, and you probably held him since, or maybe you've cashed in and sold high. I wouldn't blame you if you've done that, but Tyrese Maxey has really become the third guy, the number 3 guy for Philly, and he's not even old enough to legally drink yet, so that's pretty impressive. And lastly, Jalen Brunson of Dallas. I always thought that he would be a really good backup point guard for the entirety of his career, but he has become a starter for Dallas. I don't know, I'm feeling really nervous right now. I don't know what's going on. But Jalen Brunson has become a starter for Dallas, and it's really putting a career year. I never saw this coming. Like I said, I always thought he'd be a really good backup point guard to Luka, but now he seems to be starting alongside Luka. Jason Kidd has really kind of unlocked the whatever has unlocked the best, has gotten the best out of Jalen Brunson. So that's put him on the map as a fantasy asset, which I didn't really even realize until I was kind of going through, the players today, and I saw Jalen Brunson at the top of the list of in points of available players. He was like 300 points better than the next best person. I was like, wow. Was not aware that Jalen Brunson was having a negative year. It's just been quietly very consistent, very strong. Kind of like his teammate Dorian Finney-Smith, another guy who's very quietly and consistently having a pretty fantastic fantasy season. So a couple of very useful fantasy assets there for Dallas that will give you cheap stats across all categories. So if you're looking for something, if you're looking for some fantasy value aside from Luka and Porzingis in Dallas, there is some there. So good for Jalen Brunson. We'll see if he can, top this season again, or if this is the best we'll ever see from him. But he's definitely worth having as a guard in your fantasy roster right now. Man, I did not expect that to take over 20 minutes. All right, I'm kind of tired. I should definitely have done this earlier, but I'm gonna upload it while I sleep. Hopefully, it uploads overnight. Yeah, my phone screen is fixed, so that's kind of nice. But the battery's been a problem. Makes me a little worried about leaving my house for an extended period of time tomorrow, because I don't want to be caught with a dead battery. That always makes me really anxious when I'm caught with a dead battery, because it's like when I'm sitting on the bus or the train or something, I want to be able to, I want to be able to do something. I want to just be sitting there, staring out the window, looking at Portland stuff I've seen 2,000, 25,000 times. I don't know. There's just nothing. No, I want to be able to listen to music, or read something on ESPN, or I don't know. I just hate sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I think technology has made me a little bit more OCD as I've aged than I was probably 20 years ago, before before the cell phones and internet age. But yeah, I'm gonna probably hit the hay, upload this, hit the hay, and yeah, definitely planning, hoping that I can get a car. If not tomorrow, Monday, because like I said, the car that I'm most excited about, I get to go check out on Monday, and hopefully I can get approved for a loan, and drive the car home that day, because I don't want to be coming back after work on Tuesday. I don't want to be paying for a Lyft to get to work on Tuesday. I want this, walking part of my life, this paying for Lyft part of my life, to be over. I've been doing that for 3 years. I've been doing that the whole time I've lived in Portland. I'm over it. I want to be driving. I want to be out exploring Portland more than I have been able to in the time that I've lived here. So, all right. Peace, love, and nacho fries. Hang loose. Good luck. Best wishes. Good night. Sorry.